Here's a short little demonstration video of how I make these jams. Okay, so I'm gonna show you from scratch how I do these jams. So first of all, the most important thing is keeping time. And the easiest way to keep time is to just plug in your headphones and turn on the metronome. That is the easiest way. But if you're like me and you're too cool for headphones, there's a couple other fun ways to keep time. So let's just start with a drum kit. I don't always start with a drum kit, but for demonstration purposes, let's start with one. Let's just load the very first one. Okay. Okay, cool. Okay, so one way to keep time is to just turn on the timing correct or quantize feature and just like put it on like a pretty high thing. So when you record, it's, you know, it might not be the greatest thing ever, but it'll be somewhat in time. See, that's quantized. So that's kind of, I don't know, not the funnest way to do it, but it's one way to do it. Another cool way to do it, and a hard way to do it, probably the hardest way to do it, would be to actually edit the hi-hat and resample yourself playing 2 hi-hats in a row, like an 1/8 note apart, or 4 hi-hats, like 16th notes. So you can just hold the hi-hat and that'll keep the beat for you. So that's a fun way to do it. Another way, kind of similar, you could use something like this sound. Let's warp that, just to stay in time. And you can find out the rhythm of it or some other melodic sound to keep the rhythm. So this is like to the AM, 1 E and the 1 E and the. So you could do something like 1 E and the 2 E and the 1 E and the 2 E and the 1 E and the. Or if you have a more interesting melodic pad, that would sound better. Another way to keep time without the metronome is to use the arp. And for this one, you want to turn it to something like 16th notes, even 32nd notes if you're doing like trap or something. But like, so with 16th notes, what you can do, it's pretty similar to the timing correct quantize, where you just go, so that sounded bad because I don't want to latch it. Okay, let's enable it and let's try again. Let's try. And then you could sort of mess around with it like this. Okay, so you can record, you can see how you could make some trap music like that. But to be honest, half the time I just pre-record my drums anyway, because people don't really want to sit there and watch you like tap away. Well, maybe they do, I don't know. But yeah, half the time I just pre-record it anyway. So, also the step sequencer, I can't believe I forgot. This is probably the easiest way to do it, would be to just program something like your hi-hats into the step sequencer. For example, like this. Okay, and use this as your, yeah, and use this as your metronome. All right, so let's do it this way. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, metronome. I mean, timing correct was still on, but whatever. Okay, so now you have drums, nice and fast. If you don't want to start with drums and you want to start with something else, like say we start with the bass, the easiest way I found to keep time with starting with a different instrument other than drums is to literally use the arpeggio feature. let it keep time for you. All right. So let's say matrix. Let's record. It's a bit much. I don't really like that. Let's delete that. Let's put that on 8th notes. You could do yeah. I guess you could do something like you could do like octaves. But for this, let's just keep it real simple. All right, so let's record 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you notice, when the loop is over, you gotta make sure you either stop recording or turn off the ARP. Otherwise, it's gonna record over itself and it's gonna sound real bad. So now let's add some chords. So I just played a 2-5-1, which is pretty typical kind of jazzy chord progression. So let's just make that was a 2-5-1 in C. So D minor, G7, C major 7. Except I just played D, G, C. So let's make some. Let's do yeah, okay. So let's record that. Oh, I don't know if I mentioned it before, but just for this project, I have it set to if you press shift record settings, I have it set to a fixed length of 2 bars. Sometimes I do 4 and sometimes I do 8. I actually think it sounds more interesting if you do 8 and you come up with like slightly different or longer ideas. But for this demonstration, just 2 bars. Record arm single just because I'm doing one thing at a time on the Force. If I was using a MIDI keyboard or something, I would do multi. And I would try to record multiple parts at once. Like, for example, I do the bass and the chords at the same time. That way, if you're playing live and recording it, it doesn't, the audience doesn't have to wait for the song to get to the point, if you know what I'm saying. All right, and now lastly, let's add a melody. I'm just gonna the hype default. It's not the coolest melody ever, but let's just. I always leave my my note layout in chromatic, as you can see, just because sometimes I like to play the in-between notes. Don't be shy about playing the in-between notes. So, for example, in this, as long as you don't land on the, I'm gonna call these the black notes. As long as you don't land on the black notes for too long, any note will sound fine. So listen. See? So don't be afraid of the black keys or the black notes. They sound fine. Let's 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4. It's gonna okay. I didn't really like that, so I'm just gonna hit undo. There we go. It deleted those events. Sometimes when you hit undo, it'll completely delete the entire clip. And I noticed that what you have to do is you have to press record, let it record an empty clip, and then hit undo. Or you could literally have the clip ready by going create like that. Just have it ready. You could do it that way. Okay, so not a hit song, definitely not a hit song, but whatever, it's a start. Now, the next part is that I like to create B sections, so something completely different. You don't have to do this. Some ways to do it is to, like, for example, I like to map these things. So, for example, I'll put drums and bass on A, and then keys or chords and melody on B, something like that. And that way you can just and then you can add the crazy effects. Every time I add these effects, I always end up regretting it because I feel like I never do it quite right and it always sounds kind of bad. But maybe someday I'll learn how to add effects and make it sound musical. So for now, okay. So you can use this opportunity while you're doing this. And if you're a real pro, you could actually literally record a new drum pad, a new drum line without hearing it. So let me attempt that. It might not sound real good, but so 2, 3. Okay, so I just recorded a new drum line, and you know what? While I'm at it, let's just record a new bass line too, without hearing it. Okay. So now when I turn this, it'll sound like a B section. It'll sound like something new. Okay, again, not a hit song, but you get the idea. That's really hard to do though, like honestly, because you gotta, while you use this, you use that as your metronome, and then you gotta record without hearing what you're playing, which is like, kind of blows your mind a little bit. But if you can manage to pull it off, it sounds really cool. Half the time I don't attempt that because I mess it up half the time. So I'll just like have a pre-recorded drum, especially drums, and I'll launch the drums, and then maybe I'll play like the bass line. And then let's just whoops, I didn't hear that. It would be nice to hear it. Oh. And there you have it. That's the gist of it.